This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids.
What up, everybody? This is your boy Blak Magus, and saw an interesting tweet from Cliffy B. I heard about it while I was watching the stream, and I looked it up, and he had a pretty damn profound statement to make on the nature of gaming these days. Here's the tweet right here, and I retweeted it on my Twitter, so if you wanted to see it, you can see it there too, but here it is word for word. Many say traditional AAA is dying. To be honest, called this years ago. It's evolving into AAA Plus. Great game as a service that can go on forever. Now, what this means is basically where we're at or going to in gaming now, which is, have you noticed that there's been a lot of games that we play, that we celebrate, that they're constantly infused with content. Like, I play a lot of Destiny. Destiny is a game that I like from the jump. I know it was kind of it got a mixed reception. There were people who didn't care for it, who expected something else and didn't like what it was. But Destiny is a good example because it's that game that it was made on a AAA budget, or presented as a AAA game. But the plus part is that they continually develop it, add content, add new material, to keep people playing it for longer periods of time. That's where a lot of games have gone. You look at the Call of Duties, you look at the Battlefields, things like that, Overwatch. All of these are AAA plus type games because DLC extends their life. Now, Call of Duty, Battlefield probably fall a little bit closer to the traditional line, but they do go to that plus line because I still play Battlefield 4 because they put out so much content for that game that you can have a lot to do. They extended the life of that game up until the release of Battlefield 1. Now, Battlefield 1 will probably have content released to extend it until whatever the next iteration. And they keep going like that, just like, again, Destiny. Destiny has constantly put out DLC, and they've added different materials, changed gameplay mechanics, mission structures, things like that, to keep people coming back. Now, when Destiny 2 comes out next year, we'll have been presented like so much content that game would have lasted for 3 years, and now Destiny 2 grabs the baton and it'll do its thing. Or you look at probably the better example being games like World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, things like that, where they've constantly revamped and infused new content into those games, and those games have kept going and going and going. People wonder, like, why are people still playing them? It's because the developers keep giving people a reason to come back. And that's where we're getting at with games. Think about a lot of the games that you see people play a lot. The Rainbow Sixes, the H1Z1s. Battlegrounds just came out, and that's probably going to follow the same path. Again, like I said, Overwatch. They add characters, add maps, just added new modes, things like that. It's like we're now being put in this position where making a game that finishes and ends has fallen out of favor with people, which to me is kind of sad. And it kind of makes you understand, like, why we have the conversations we have in gaming now, why people now talk about games in terms of if it doesn't have such and such hours of play, it's not worth my $60. Before, you bought a game for $60 or more, like I've always said, Back in the day, in the Nintendo, Sega eras, we paid a lot more for much shorter experiences. But your goal was you wanted to find a good game to play. And you went and you spent your money, and if that game was good, you were left satisfied because you had a good experience. You didn't really think about how many hours you put into the game. Of course, if you really, really like the game, you're going to put in a mass amount of hours anyway because you would keep replaying it. But that never crossed your mind. The idea of, I got to get this many hours out of this in order to be satisfied was never a factor when it came to purchasing and playing a game. But now, a lot of times when you see people, like I see it all the time in podcasts, in video comments and things like that, one of the first questions that you see people have is it worth 60? And what that generally means is, how much time am I going to spend in this game? Because when you see people respond, it tends to always be about, well, it only took me such and such a time to play this, so it might be worth 30. It's like that was never a part of the argument. Like, for me, it's always been, I really, really had fun in this game, so yeah, it was worth my money. If I don't like it, then no. If I think it was just okay and not like anything special, nah, you might want to wait and get it on sale. It's okay, but it's not something that you need to go out and grab right now. Like that is the way I would argue it. That's the way the arguments used to always be. But again, with like Cliffy B said, this AAA plus style of gaming now, we have moved from that, because if you look at even games that mostly or just have a single player experience, they've started to stretch them. A lot of games now, you see more open world games because it's easy to stretch hours of content into that. That content may have nothing to do with the story. It may have like little value when you think of it in the grand scheme of things. But a game like Grand Theft Auto makes people think that it's worth their money because they put in so much side stuff and let you walk around the town and just do all types of crazy things, bike riding, skydiving, things like that, where they build the perception that, yo, these added hours make it more worth the while, when you're really, honestly, when you think about it, you're not getting content that matters to the story, the focus of what the story is. Just like I've been playing Mafia 3, and I enjoy the game, but you can definitely tell, like, there's a stretching mechanism. They use the same types of stretching mechanism. Like, I like the concept of having 3 underbosses who run different sections of the town, but blocking the story behind, oh, you got to go and take care of some stuff for them and open up territories and then divvy out the territories for your bosses before you can move on in the story. It's not cool. I do it because it's a part of how I have to play the game, but that's how they stretch the game. When they could just have the main missions laid out, I could play those in whatever amount of time it takes it and get the full experience of the story. But they had to find a way to elongate the game, because if the game's not a certain amount of time, people are going to rage these days, so it's very interesting. We have gotten to quite an interesting era in gaming. I still enjoy it because there's still some great experiences. I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy 15 as an RPG. RPGs traditionally long anyway. They always have like a lot of missions and grinding because you want to level up and be able to compete or stay alive against certain bosses and things like that. So RPGs in particular had always, to me, got it right, because the leveling of your competition demanded you to put in hours to make sure that you can compete with your enemies. So they didn't have it was always a part of the mechanic. Whereas now, like I said, you get these stretching mechanisms, these side things thrown in, all this extra stuff, busy work, as I like to call it, to make the perception that this game carries a higher value level, because you can put in a certain amount of hours. But that's what people want. That's exactly what people want these days. They want to feel like their hours equate into their money's worth more than the experience itself or the enjoyment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy games like Destiny. I like playing it. I have fun. The reason why I buy the packs is because I like the game and I don't mind playing more. But I'm just as comfortable playing a much shorter game if it's good. That's my whole investment in gaming, is to have fun and to have good experiences. So, but hey, it is what it is. New era. Things change. Times, they evolve. Attitudes are different, and it's the way it is. And these developers kind of have to go with it. But anyway, hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Blak Magus, and I'm out. Deuces.